Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Morris. I'm the Director of Business Development for Gaming for GTS Distribution. We're here with another one of our publisher to retailer webinars. Today, we have Nathan Hatfield from not Tiny Epic Games, from Gamelyn Games. You see all the Tiny Epic stuff kind of behind him, but Tiny Epic is going to be a big focus about what we're going to be talking about today. Most people know Gamelyn Games from Tiny Epic Games, and they have a very, very wide line with a lot of different themes and a lot of different gameplay styles for different players, which is really cool that we'll talk about. We're also going to talk a little bit about the brand new Tiny Epic game, Tactics, which is going to be coming out here very soon. I believe that's a January release, right, Nathan?
That's correct.
Yep. And then as you can see behind Nathan's smiling face, there is also some display stands and a game hall bag that we're going to be talking about as well, which are some really cool things both for your customers to take and carry their collections around, but also to have in your store as a point of purchase display or, just as a shelf separator, so to speak, to kind of generate, more attention to the games and kind of help them separate from the noise, so to speak, in the retail space. So I don't want to steal all of his thunder because there is quite a bit of it and it's really awesome. I'm very happy to say I own nearly, I think, almost every Tiny Epic game ever made, which is awesome. So I really should probably have 2 bags by now. But we'll go ahead, we'll get the SKUs for everything into the chat window. If this is your first time joining us on Zoom, it's really easy to interact. All you have to do is hover over your window and hit the chat button. I'll go ahead and monitor that for you, Nathan. So if any questions come up, I can let you know. And then,
cool, I appreciate that.
Yep, and we'll get it covered for you. All right, with that, Nathan, floor is all yours, my friend.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, thank you everyone for joining here. And and like what Scott said, a lot of it is going to be the focus on our Tiny Epic product. Something that we've been able to do with the Tiny Epic games is give everybody a little bit of something. And so you don't have to necessarily find a specific style or gameplay that you want, for Tiny Epic. You can kind of explore those. And we've positioned ourselves to be very small, which is perfect for, this holiday season. It's something easy to buy. It's not going to take up a lot of space. It's inexpensive, but it's also a really good gift just because of the quality of this game. Maybe your gamers are giving, decks, card games or, small deck games or, little box games, to people who maybe aren't gamers and they're trying to introduce gaming to someone. Maybe something like Tiny Epic kind of fits that bill, but maybe it gives them just a little bit more and maybe it'll be a little bit more memorable and, maybe they'll get a lot of play out of it. And, kind of just the size, we always engineer the size, thinking of your retail space, thinking of, how much games you're going to be having on this shelf. But sometimes the small box games can have a hard time standing out. And so what we were mentioning a little bit is the display, and that's been engineered to help the Tiny Epic games stand out a bit. So I'm just going to kind of pull back here and show you one of these. Very cool here. And then it just comes flat packed, easy to build, in your store and, has kind of, some story to it. It lets you know that, it's tiny, it's on the go. It fits in this nice lady's purse, but then when it gets sprawled out on the table, it's, a huge experience. And so it's kind of got some marketing to it as well. Really helps describe how, they're all different. The games aren't the same. There's, something different, in this. It's not just, the galaxies is the reskin of the zombies or anything like that. And so hopefully the marketing kind of speaks to that a little bit more. Fit 6 games. And behind each game also has kind of another little bit of a story, just to kind of further kind of cement what these games are. And what's actually kind of nice about that and what we're seeing with people with this display is people who have it in their store, they'll pull out one game. So again, they're kind of enticed to pick this game up. And these games are heavy, they're chunky. And so when the customer picks this up out and they're standing in the store, they're, oh, wow, there's quite a bit in here, and then they're going to see the price. But then they see that there's something behind there and they get a kick out of it. And so they grab the next one and it's something different. And so it's just really funny. We've been, having, stores tell us, hey, we got people and they go by the little display and they, pull out kind of each one. It's a really good, easy visual reminder of, oh man, Galaxies keeps disappearing, or that brand new Tactics that just came out keeps disappearing. That's the one that keeps getting bought. And so it kind of gives you a good visual cue also of, okay, what ones do I need to reorder? Which one do I need to order a couple more units on because that's the one that, continues to sell, and then you kind of, keep it full and it looks really nice and customers, are picking up and purchasing.
It's also a very kind of compact, even though there's, quite a bit there with the 6 games. You kind of turned it to the side and showed it, how thin it was and everything. It does not take up a lot of space. So
No, it certainly does not.
depending on how much counter space someone has, it could be something that goes right next to a register or right next to a checkout area. But it also fits really nicely on a shelf in terms of just separating them and kind of making them pop and look a little different than just kind of spining the game, so to speak, next to each other or facing them out on the shelf. So it makes it definitely stand out from the noise, which is great.
It does, and then it's something that we've been excited about, and the feedback and the customers that we have using it, they're really happy for it, and we're seeing good results with it. And it isn't just for the shelves, it is compact. It certainly is compact enough where it can fit up next to your display. You have a couple displays up front where maybe you have some card packs or kind of some of your smaller games that are right there near your register, or at least your front little row. This fits right there, and it's colorful, it's attractive. People are drawn to it, to a degree. It's not drab by any means. And so people, like to walk up to it and touch it.
And I failed to mention at the beginning of the webinar, but just so everyone knows, we are running a special this week on all of the Tiny Epic games, including with the display and the bag as well, which we'll probably get to in a second here after we go through the display. But just so everyone knows, all of the Tiny Epic games that are in stock will be 52% off SRP this week. That'll be until next week on the 11th, on next Monday. And in addition to that, if you buy any 6, doesn't matter if you buy 6 of Tiny Epic Galaxies or one of 6 different types or however many combination you want to do, for every 6 that you buy, you get a free display of the display that Nathan's showing you right now. So that's a great advantage for the holiday for sure, with the foot traffic coming in and the last minute $20, $25 purchases at the holiday time.
Yeah, no, seriously. And then, and kind of in speaking to what we have in stock, right now we have all but really 2 titles in stock, Western and Kingdoms, but all of our best sellers, Galaxies, Quest, Zombies, the new mechs, all of those are in stock, ready to go. And so you can, really kind of sink in and get some of the best sellers that Gamelyn has. And so it's easy to fill this up with all best sellers right now.
Yeah, and if for any reason, if any of the retailers are looking at maybe some of more like the spoke warehouse stores that may be closer to you, like a Michigan or a New York or anything like that, if you see anything that's out of stock, let us know. You can let your sales rep know, or you can just place a back order online. That'll trigger to have our purchasing team get a hold of Nathan and make sure that we stock in the area that you need it in. So, and they're very quick. I mean, I can talk to Nathan today and we can have product PDQ, as they say. So.
No, and we've had it definitely a good shipping relationship, and so orders are flowing, and Gamelyn and GTS are working very well together.
And just as a reminder as well, the bag is also 52% off as well. Someone just sent me a private Facebook message, which, thank you. I think that's really cool. But you can also chat in the webinar chat as well. So,
and we can kind of get a little up close personal view of this now if we got people, kind of interested in it. Holds 12 Tiny Epic games, nice and clear on the front here, so you can see your collection. Stack it how you want, slides perfectly into a calyx. It's got a nice little zipper pocket on the side too. If you're an ultra Tiny Epic fan, water bottle, just real sturdy. And people kind of, they're proud to carry this around, because they come to game night, and this is kind of the vision we had for it. And, the way people are talking about it is they come to game night and they're like, okay, I have this one game hall bag that was easy for me to carry, but I have everything in here. You want to play a zombie theme game. You guys want to play a galaxy game. You want to play worker placement. You want to play small 4X, you want to go questing with item meeples, what are you guys in the mood for tonight? You kind of have it in this one container, and people, are kind of, evangelizing about the series more. It always ties into the completionist nature. They're, getting this bag full, is important to people. And it's a good gift, either you're personally a Tiny Epic fan or somebody who's a Tiny Epic fan. I mean, it's a fantastic gift to them, because they're gonna be getting the game, So this is something kind of maybe they didn't see or didn't know about, and you can kind of surprise them with it. And so yes, and that it's just durable. It's awesome. It comes packed small, and it pops out, so it doesn't really necessarily take up too much space when it gets shipped out to you.
Yeah, and the retail price on it is great. It's a $25 price for the bag. So
same price of a game.
Yep, exactly. So it works out really, really well.
And so yes, little feet on the bottom.
And it does, I can vouch, it does fit literally quite perfectly into a calyx shelf. So
we did that on purpose. Like, okay, People are like, but what about the shelf? Because, you know, Tiny Epic kind of stacks up a little weird. And it's like, no, you just put them all in the bag, and the bag slides in. And it just looks beautiful.
That's the way to do it.
Yes.
So there haven't been any questions that have come in, but just as a reminder, if you haven't used it before, if you hover over your window on a computer, you'll see a chat bubble at the bottom, and you can type in any kind of questions that you have. I just realized that I put a text message into everybody that only went to all of the panelists and not to all of the webinar attendees. So we'll do that right now to make sure everyone's got the information on the tactics, the Tiny Epic display, and the game hall bag as well. Do items not yet released count towards discount? Yes, that's a great question, Stephen. So Tactics is not released yet, but that is going to be able to be 52% off for this week as well. So if you pre-order any copies of it, which is a great idea to do, then yes, you will get 52% off. And then, as Nathan said, it'll release in January. So you'll have that, you know, on your invoice for when it comes out in January for everything. But that may be a good segue into how awesome Tactics is, because Tactics has been one of my personal, like, this is the one that I'm waiting for type things, because it looks really
right. It's kind of on a lot of people's short list of like, okay, this is something really completely different, and it's something, you know, that really, you know, brings me back and brings me what I want to be doing as a gamer. And with that, yeah, no, we are going to be hitting the ground running in January with Tactics. You know, start the year with a brand new, you know, fresh, awesome Tiny Epic, and so yeah, you know, people should be really excited for it. So I just kind of shift down here just a little bit. You can kind of just see it laid out, and I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail when I show it, but I just kind of want you to kind of just lightly see, you know, how it's displayed here. Just so you can kind of get an idea, you know, of its compact nature. Again, you know, Tiny Epic, we always try to achieve the small footprint. You know, I have a 4-player game set up here in front of me, you know, just at my small little desk.
And the 3-dimensional pieces are actually the box itself, right? In terms of the way it's kind of almost nested inside of itself.
That's exactly right. And so, and I'll just kind of physically show these, and you can see, I mean, this is the bottom of the box. So this is that sturdy 2mm, you know, stuff that you're used to with Tiny Epic, you know, and these are the terrains that are going over this silk. Well, it's not silk, so a synthetic cloth for all of our silkworm friends out there. But no, just this synthetic cloth. It goes over this, you know, and creates that 3D terrain. You know, this folds up very easily back in the bag. It's double-sided. You know, one side's going to be for main gameplay. The other side's going to be for the custom map builder. You know, if you're adding on the maps expansions, you know, so you're trying to expand your game, create a lot more variability, customization with it. But they, you know, lays out on there in the product, you know, and the terrain all lays back on there very simply. But again, high quality, 2mm, strong terrain. But what you're noticing too on the inside of that is some printing as well. And so the game really offers quite a significant amount of play just because of the ability for the boards to flip from overworlds to underworlds. So, you know, you're going to get used to this kind of dungeon element of it. You know, and it's tactical combat. You know, if you move up 2 and your opponent moves over 3 and, you know, you have elevation differences, those things are going to matter, you know, and the abilities of what your characters are doing are going to matter in that degree. Cool little screen printed little guys. We've actually, for the first time, there's a little, you can't really see it too good on the camera, but we have a little lacquer, a little varnish, you know, over the figures that help the screen printing from coming off. So just, you know, small little things, you know, that Gamelyn keeps doing to continue to, you know, improve its product.
That's extremely smart considering how much people, you know, handle meeples and, you know, have their fingers all over them and everything. So that's a really smart idea.
Yeah, and we've kind of noticed that. And so again, just one of those things, you know, hey, let's keep, you know, we know that the product's going to be used, it's going to get played, and so we want to make those decisions. Here, and I'm just going to share.
Can you describe a little bit? I know you talked a little bit about the kind of the dungeon element of it. Can you describe, is it a game that is cooperative and people are working together, or is it a game that people are competitive and fighting against each other and trying to defeat each other, or what's the overall goal of the game, so to speak, from if someone were to have to like do a back of the box pitch?
Yeah, exactly. And so kind of I think everybody can see my screen now.
Yes, I can see your screen. I've got the 3-dimensional look with the meeples and the 5 play modes.
Excellent. So you're seeing that. So again, 5 different play modes, but kind of the real core element of this game is, you know, competitive play. You know, it's tactical combat. You're going to have an array of different characters. There's actually 32 different playable characters in this game that, you know, have different, you know, there's fighters and there's rogues and there's wizards and there's beasts. And so you're going to be selecting from these characters. You're going to be building your party. And then from that party, each player is going to start in kind of the corner spaces. And what you're going to do is you're vying for kind of these control points that are set throughout the board. So on this board, there's these different control points. And so you're wanting to tactically move into those control points, be able to hold those and hold them for a certain amount of turns where you're actually going to capture that flag. So kind of the first element of it is you're going to a spot, trying to capture that flag, hold that position, but you also get victory points for killing other opponents. And so just the straight combat aspect to it is pretty huge way to get victory points and kind of the core element of the game.
Being a fan of tactical games and video games, so things like XCOM, things like Fire Emblem Heroes, and things like that.
Fire Emblem's a great reference.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of, right? I mean, when I first saw Tactics and I looked at it, obviously the first thing you see is the three-dimensional boards, and you're like, oh, how's that work, and what's going on with all that and everything. But then when you start looking at the gameplay and you kind of see all the different things that can happen in there, like Fire Emblem was one of the first things that jumped out at me. And I know a lot of people, I mean, Nintendo has been absolutely gigantic over the last year or two with the Switch and everything that's been going on with that. But if anyone does have a lot of video gamers in store, those are great comparisons to be able to use in terms of, XCOM or in terms of Fire Emblem, in terms of that tactical nature of the game, but doing it in, like Nathan said, like this tiny little size area, which is awesome. So.
Well, and really just going and straight say, Final Fantasy Tactics, it definitely is trying to capture those elements of the abilities of your characters have to work together. They have to be good against what your enemy has. And you have to make sure that, that being one level difference or one square away really can be, a lot of the difference. But you kind of see the map here. There's portals and stuff, and you can get around pretty quickly. Because, again, it's a tiny epic game. And so, we're not wanting to overstay its welcome. And you kind of see here's just kind of a nice little graphic of how the game just kind of all dumps back inside its box. And so it's really quite cool. And so actually what happens is the back of the box is in fact the large element you see here. So the game is actually going to come with a really cool sleeve on it. And so it's kind of even an upgrade,
I was just going to ask, from a retailer's perspective, does that mean the back of the box is blank for them, or is there something that'll have on the back describing it? So that's perfect.
Yeah. So actually I'll just kind of give you a show. So you'll see that the game, so you have your Tiny Epic Tactics, beautiful, Spot UV is, everywhere that we can get it, but it's going to come out of this sleeve. And so your sleeve has all of your retail information. Talks about the game, talks about the game modes. Again, looks real nice with the Spot UV on there. But then your box, you see there's where the bottom comes in. So this is actually, again, the terrain that you're playing on. And everything, again, nests nicely. Nice big bag of nice, good bits. But everything you kind of see just rests right inside there. And so as it comes out, the boxes actually come out of the game.
For people who don't know, Nathan and Michael Coe, the owner of Gamelyn Games, actually bought a TARDIS a couple of years ago. So that's how they're able to fit so many things into one box.
It was really just a company goal. I'm like, okay, well, we've played things with Hammer Space. Let's make sure we try to create it. But it really, that's kind of how it started with Tactics. Like, okay, we want to do 3D terrain. And then it's like, well, let's just use the box. And, we have a wonderful relationship with our manufacturer. We like to go, a loyalty route, and, we, are dedicated to quality. And so, with our relationship, we're kind of able to get these weird things where we need this to be done. And, they kind of look at us funny, but, through engineering and testing, and a lot of patience and flexibility and, work on both people's ends, the product comes out fantastic. And I can't wait for people to get this game.
Question for you on the release date in January. I know when it was originally solicited, it was hoped to be out by December, but obviously that's not going to be able to happen. So I know we need to update the release date for that. Do you have an actual hard release date yet for January?
Yes. And so our hard release date is going to be, we expect, so product will be shipping to GTS distributors in the month of December, but it's not something, that our, teams are going to be able to push out that quickly. And so, we are looking for a January 3rd, that Friday release.
So just after the holiday.
Yes, just after, because the product will be shipped. It'll be right in your warehouse. And so it was just very close, for backers and things like that. So,
well, that's still a good opportunity for a lot of retailers to take advantage of the people coming in with, Christmas cash or gift cards or anything like that they've done. So.
Well, right. And we kind of, and that kind of was a big thing of it as well since it was so far on the tail end of kind of the retail, people weren't able to buy it in mid-November, so it was kind of on that tail end that it could even, get shuffled in. And so hit the ground running with, your new Tiny Epic, maybe somebody got gifted Quest for Christmas. They're eager, to get something new. They do have that holiday money. It's not that expensive. They're not coming out and buying $100 game. And so hopefully, that does build some momentum for Tactics. And it is going to be, after their holiday big hauls, and everybody's, got 8 board games under their tree, maybe Tactics will be a breath of fresh air because it won't be like something that they've played before.
I don't normally say these words of, I think I speak for all retailers when I say, but I will in this case. I'm pretty sure every retailer is very happy that you're not releasing like, December 15th or December 18th, like right around that Christmas rush when they're so focused on everything that they've got to do for moving out their inventory before the end of the year and all the things that are happening with foot traffic and stuff. We've seen a lot of feedback from retailers that if the choice is release a week or so before Christmas or release a week or two after Christmas, generally they'll push towards that January 3rd timeframe or later, like you were talking about. So I think that will probably make a lot of people very happy.
Yes, exactly, and that's good to hear that too. It's because we didn't want that to kind of come up across where it's like, oh, my people want Tiny Epic, I got to get Tiny Epic in, and so they feel like they have to kind of jerk a little bit and let's just make it clean. Let's start the year off with a big Tiny Epic game and make that good.
So there was a great question by Jeff, and you have two of the boxes behind you a little bit, but with the success of Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, are there any potential expansions for those, or are there any potential plans to do other big box games like those in the future?
Yeah, and so the universe of Ogmore that Heroes exists in, that chapter book is not closed, and so we absolutely are, hard at work, wanting to expand content for that, and maybe in a little bit more creative way than just releasing new factions, and so keep an eye on the Heroes series, make sure that you keep playing it, keep up to date with it, but it's not going to be something as simple as here's some new factions. We want to put a little bit more into it, but it's something that's hopefully sooner rather than later. Because we want to keep, people into Heroes. We want to keep it in stock. We want to keep new content, flowing for the game. And we really think that this new avenue of content we're going to have for it is just going to be something beyond releasing faction packs. And so absolutely, we'll be doing more in the Heroes universe of Ogmore, but other big backs titles and stuff, nothing really too much in the cooks now. A lot of focus on Tiny Epic. A lot of focus on developing that, but keeping Ogmore moving because Heroes has been a great seller for Gamelyn Games. It's been a fantastic product to move. It's the reviews are great, and so that's been really nice about it. And so
there's not that many big box games that are the size of Hero Land, Air, and Sea that have gotten the positive amount of press that it has gotten. I mean, it's gotten quite a bit. I've not seen a single review or anyone says anything like negative or clunky. It's always positive. It's always an adventure. It's always this is everything from a Tiny Epic game, but exploded into this
right.
Big giant world and all these different races and factions and everything. So yeah, it'll be very nice to be able to see more of that. Kind of, well, like you said, more of the same, but still something new and fresh to keep the new players excited about it.
Right? Exactly, because it's one of the games. Once you get into it, you play it quite a bit. But yeah, look for something in 2020. So.
Awesome. I am personally also looking forward to your April Fool's announcement of the giant average board games. I think that would be great. So
I expect the board game industry to really step it up this year. Let's see some really, really cool ones.
I think it would be fun. Yeah, it would be fun. So awesome. All right. Well, there's no other questions that have come in. So I want to take a second and just kind of remind everybody about the offer this week and make sure everyone's on the same page for what we're doing. So the offer is all the Tiny Epic games that are available right now, plus Tiny Epic Tactics that's going to be released January 3rd, as Nathan mentioned. Those are all going to be 52% off MSRP for this week, which is Monday, November 4th until next Monday, November 11th. In addition to that, the Game Haul bag, and it's Game HAUL, not Game HALL.
Right, like you're hauling your games, your game hauler.
You're hauling your game to the hall, right? So
right. Think of think of the Game Haul company that's already making those Game Haul bags.
Right. So yeah, exactly.
Partner with quality and something that people can get behind. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So the bag itself also again is a $25 SRP. That's also 52% off this week. And as Nathan shows, there's 6 copies of a game in there. If you order any 6 copies of any Tiny Epics this week, whether you do 6 Tiny Epic Tactics or 2 of everything that you want or 1 of everything you want, every 6 copies will get you one of the displays that Nathan's showing right now as well, and that's for free in addition to your order. So that's
we just want to give you flexibility to sell more, sell more of this great game, and do your store a really big favor.
Yeah, and these are games that, in my opinion, and we've talked about this a couple of times before, but I think it's a great thing to always share with everybody. As you mentioned with when you were talking about the Game Haul bag, that you kind of have everything in there, right? You got zombies, you got high fantasy, you got mechs, you got all these different themes. the really cool thing about it is that while I own personally almost every Tiny Epic game, my game groups vary as to which ones they like, right? The people who lean towards the like high adventure games, they like those high fantasy games, they like galaxies. The people who are maybe more casual players may like something like zombies or like mechs or something like that.
Right. It's not as deep for them, and it's so awesome to hear that from a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, from when I think of it from a retailer's perspective, you know, and I think especially about this time of year with the holidays and the foot traffic and the new foot traffic coming in, because they're getting a lot of people coming in that normally wouldn't, you know, come into the store on a regular basis.
Right.
This is a great line for them to be able to share with people and say that, you know, not only are they easy and approachable from all age groups, they're a great price point at $25. They're a great size physically in terms of like stocking stuffers or just that small gift. They're also great for like, and it's funny, I did this once before, you know, dealing with everything we're dealing with right now, but in another life, those are great for white elephant gifts. I've seen people bring board games that are like this, and when they're this small, they're those things that suddenly get broken out and people start playing with them, and all of a sudden there's like a board game night without even realizing it. So
right, and yeah, you white elephant gift somebody who's never even seen a board game, and they open up Tiny Epic Zombies and have an item meeple, you know, and they you know, they equip their meeple with a chainsaw. It's gonna absolutely blow their mind.
Yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility with that, and I think, you know, the big things from a retailer's perspective too is that you don't have to know every single game, right? You and your staff, as you have all the different games that are involved, you don't need to be able to describe the difference in every single game in that line, because the thematics of the games will kind of speak to the consumers and speak to the gamers. If you have, you know, mom and dad walking in looking for something for their kids or for their children, and they're looking at it and you say, well, what do your kids like? Oh, you know, they love Walking Dead. Oh, well, let's look at the zombies, right? Or, oh, they love, you know, the mechs and, you know, different, you know, Jaegers and things like that from like Pacific Rim. Hey, let's look at Tiny Epic mechs, right? There's a lot of different things. I mean, you even have Western. Like, I mean, if somebody's into cowboys, they have a, you know, Tiny Epic Western, which is awesome.
We didn't even leave Western, you know, people like high fantasy, you know, there's, you know, particular inspiration, you know, drawn. I mean, it is allow people to just really dive in on theme very quickly. They're like, boom, I love mechs, I'm in. Boom, I love zombies. Boom, I love space. Boom, I love knights. You know, and it just instantly just draws them in.
Yep.
And it gives them a good option. It makes people feel like they're making a choice too.
It does, yeah. It feels more kind of personal, so to speak, right? You know, they're buying something that's thematically tied to what they like and what they want to dig into. And like you said, you know, one of the things that's always blown me away, it's funny because I know Scott Holmes very well, the designer of the Tiny Epic line, and we've talked a lot about it. There's a lot of people, I think, that sometimes maybe pigeonhole him and maybe say, you know, oh, well, he just makes all these Tiny Epic games. And I'm like, have you ever played the Tiny Epic games? Like there's dozens and no two is exactly alike. Like apart from the name Tiny Epic, they're completely different games, right?
Tiny Epic is Mech Warrior Battle 3030, and Tiny Epic Galaxies is Galaxy Commander. You know, they're really that's really as different as they are. But, you know, we kind of have a mantra, you know, a through line where it's like, you know, they're economical and they're ecological, you know, for consumers. You know, we want, you know, let's not ding your pocketbook and sell you something larger, you know, for $40-$45, and let's not take up all the space on your shelf. Let's not make it hard for it to be shared, you know, and try to remove all those barriers for the consumer.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, these games could easily be, with as much strategy as is in them, these could easily be $40 and $50 games every time you guys make them, right? You could make little miniatures, you could make bigger boards, bigger cards, all that stuff. But yeah, the ecological piece is a really, really interesting piece right now.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. You know, there's a lot of games coming out, and, you know, it's important to just, you know, be cognizant of what's happening, and, you know, it works with Tiny Epic, and, you know, people like it, you know, and it, you know, no wasted space, you know, double-sided everything stacked to the brim, you know, no need to waste any space, you know, to try to be a big box. So
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You know, when people are talking about brands and kind of what brands stand for and what they do, that's a good message to have.
Thank you. Yes, that's definitely something that's important to us.
Awesome. Well, there's no additional questions that have come in, so I just want to take a second. Nathan, thank you very much for joining us. Really do appreciate the conversation always. You guys, You and Michael are two of my favorite people in the industry. You're super nice. You're super easy to work with. Your products are great. They're just, it's all around a wonderful thing. And from a retailer perspective, thank you very much. I know this is getting to that time of year where it's just crazy busy for everybody with it. Black Friday coming up and the holiday purchases coming up. So I'm sure over the next couple of weeks, we're all going to kind of be pulling our hair out, or in my case, pulling my beard out since I don't have anything up here.
See, we're just the exact opposite.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. So again, just as a reminder, all Tiny Epic games, including pre-ordering Tiny Epic Tactics, 52% off this week until November 11th. The Tiny Epic Game Haul Bag, also 52% off. And for every 6 copies that you buy of Tiny Epic games this week, you'll be able to get one of the awesome display stands as well. So, and that's something that'll, stay with you as long as you like. It doesn't need to just be for the holidays. After the holidays are done, it'll still be something to work for you in your store and be a tool to kind of help sell more of these great games. So it's good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Hope everyone has a great week in your stores. Nathan, thank you so much. Please give Michael our best, and we'll talk to you all soon.
All right. Pleasure.